Good morning. Good morning. Before we all get our day started, let's start off by figuring out how we're going to govern through the generations. We're going to use the context of generations being people born at similar times. I'm 41 years old. I registered non party affiliated. I was born in 1982. Around me at that time, there was a phrase, like respect your elders, respect your elders, respect your elders. It just came out a lot. And around me, it was like, you couldn't speak, when grown people were speaking. If you entered the room with adults, you said, excuse me, you know, um, you announced yourself and then they would come back and speak to you. That was the generation that I was raised in. There was information out there, but everybody didn't have access to it because, we didn't have this type of internet enhanced access that we have today. So there was a language that was spoken that wasn't in law, and law wasn't spoken around me or in my household like it is or like I do in mine. So how do we govern through the generations? Right now, I'll say things like talk to your friends and talk, because everybody's speaking a language. But what it, right now, we don't speak the government language as a collective. That's what I mean when I say it's very difficult to govern through the generations. I was talking to a 19-year-old, or he soon to be 19-year-old young man 2 days ago. And I asked him, I said, hey, are you where you want to be at? And he was like, no, I thought I'd be out of be out the house by now. But and I said, man, that's interesting. I said, so, at 18, would you tell your 12-year-old self? He said, hey, I tell my 12-year-old self, man, I need to have a plan and I need to understand that Five Guys don't pay enough. And I said, man, that's funny. And, we just talked about different things and about directions that he wanted to go. But you got to understand that he didn't speak the language. He didn't speak the language necessary to bridge the gap and working in this society and economy. And listen to me. This is why I say, man, please talk to your friends and get as low as you can, because you got to understand that we have got to bridge the gap. My parents could not bridge the educational gap necessary to have brought me further than where I think I am today. The words that I teach my daughter, every Monday, this girl has to go to Black's Law Dictionary and give me 12 definitions out of that dictionary, and then turn around and write me a report on those 12 words in a way that she understands it. And she's 12 years old. Because contracts and law, and when our representatives speak to us, they're speaking those type of words that we may not understand. But you know what? Every now and again, they'll get out there and they'll say something like squatters' rights. But there are no laws for squatters' rights. But you've heard the term before. But when you go look up the law, check it out in Florida. Go look up 95.16 and you're going to see it's not called squatters' rights. They actually say squatters' rights is the informal term. The actual term is adverse possession. That's the law where you're going to find out why is it okay for an individual to take something or sit in something that doesn't belong to them, and how were they ever able to get it? The root cause. What was the beginning that even let this become a thing? Now, when you say the word squatters' right, make you feel some type of way. You have some emotion behind it. You're like, oh no, that ain't cool, or how dare they just let this stuff happen? Go look at the law of adverse possession. Because when you create a law that allows for something to happen, you got to change it. So why they created it in the first place? The root cause. That's why we get root cause analysis. Young people, when I say young people, I'm talking to my people that are third grade and up. Talk to your children like they are adults when you are teaching them. Still demand that level of respect for being a parent, but bring them along way faster than the schools do. The schools have to focus on getting our children to function in this economy, regardless of whether it's jacked up or not. I'm trying to fix that by giving you a vote, by giving you an opportunity to put yourself in a legislative authority position. That's my job. But my other job is to help you understand, bring you into my thought process. Not, I used to be, people say, you can't change a person's mind, yet people do it every day. Propaganda is meant to change your mind. It's meant to have you see a direction. I just tell you directly what I want. If you don't have that mindset, come back and tell me you don't. And I'm going to work to change your mind. I'm going to work to change your mind, to give you the perspective. But if you give me one that's better than mine, if you show me something that's better, I'm going to adjust. But it's got to be better because my morals and my values are healthy. It means that even if I go through a struggle, on the back end of that struggle, there will be health. Every time we do something, we cannot guarantee that it is always going to be great or it is always going to be perfect. And I do raise my kids like that. My daughter asked me the other day, she said, Dad, you tripping about getting me a little $2 something that she wanted to snack on. And she said, if we ain't got the money, I said, listen, if you reach in my if you reach in that little middle area, you're gonna find $5 in there. It ain't that I don't have the $2 that you're looking for, but what you're asking for ain't good for you. I never used the word I couldn't afford it. I said I'm not getting it. I have to bridge the mental gap between having and not needing. That's a tough one. So right now you got a lot of older people, a lot of people would say, man, you 41 years old, you old. My daughter calls me old. You're old, you old, you old. Calm down, young lady. I am experienced. Old. I'm older than you, definitely, but experienced. We're trying to get the understanding that, hey, at some point, if I'm raising you, if I'm teaching you that you're going to need to stand in front of something, but I don't give you the tools to stand in front of it, what am I teaching you for? You need the tools to stand in front of whatever you're facing. That's our job, to give you those tools. But I need to also give you the access. We have to take our conversation and give it to individuals who do not speak the language. Now you may say, well, we speak English. We all speak a version of English. There are individuals in our society who do not speak slang at all. Imagine having to have a conversation with an individual who does not speak slang in the least bit. Now you take that generational gap of a lot of individuals who believe or maybe think that, you know what, YouTube is going to be the way. Something's going to happen. Let me make this clear. In order to pay people money, you need money. And let's just make something simple. If you go look at our credit card debt, it is gaining more and more traction. I want to say it's in the trillions of dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, I am asking you to sit down with your different generational gap and start to figure out how to close that gap in communication. How do we close the gap so that we can understand who is good for us and who isn't good for us? Who's speaking in a language that somebody's going to need to interpret for us? Hey, such and such said something and I don't really know what they said and I need somebody to interpret it. If you don't have those type of people in your circle, fix your circle. You need to have a myriad of different people in your circle so we can all come together and figure this out. The understanding is a collective understanding. If I am speaking to you and you do not understand, that means I am creating confusion, and I do not want to create confusion. We need to bridge the generational gap. And on the way to bridging that gap, I'm going to give you legislative authority. The authority to make your voice not just heard, but felt. Help me bridge the generational gap. You guys have a great day.